Famous Apollo Theater. Let me mention that Kenneth Feld is presenting Ringling Brothers in Barnum Bailey Circus at Madison Square Garden, and we've been given some complimentary tickets. I'm not sure. Is anybody here with youngsters today, by the way? Let me just take a quick look. Okay, these tickets are for you then, brother. It's real simple. We do it just like that. Again, that's Kenneth Feld presenting Ringling Brothers in Barnum Bailey Circus at Madison Square Garden. Complimentary tickets are yours from the world-famous Apollo Theater. From the Nile Valley to the world, congratulations. All right. From the Nile Valley to the world, science, invention, and technology, new dimensions in African history. Again, our guests, Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark, are going to be discussing this particular book at the Schomburg, 135th Street and Lenox Avenue, Thursday, April 9th, 7 p.m. There will be free admission. Make it a point to be there. That's tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Talk Radio 1190, WLIB. We have telephone callers standing by. We have some live audience members as well, so we'll try to alternate between both before we march out of here at 2 o'clock. Thank you. You're online in the GBE. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Gary.
Good to have you with us.
Yes, I'd like to follow up on a point that Dr. Ben was making. He stated that he was personally from the tribe of Gad, and that most Americans here are Hebrews. I am a member of the nation of Yahweh, Yud-He-Wav-He, and I would like to develop the thesis with Dr. Ben that we here, the so-called blacks in America, are the true Hebrew Israelites from the tribe of Judah.
Let me just jump in for a moment, because I'm not sure if that's what Doc meant. Doc, was that a correct interpretation?
No, I certainly didn't mean that. I'm not going to get in any long hocus pocus with the brother.
No, well,
if the brother wants to be from any tribe he wants, the Greenfoot or the Bluefoot, it doesn't matter to me, because it's just another further breaking us apart. I don't care about the tribe. I was just saying that, and it means nothing to me more than it is a religious thing.
Well,
I don't believe that there was any biological thing about going back to another nonsense called Adam and Eve. I don't want to be getting that with you, and that's where you're coming at.
No.
That don't make no. If you're from the tribe or what you want to be, it doesn't make you get less blows from the cracker than if I was from the Miggy tribe.
All right, brother, in the interest of time, because I know these things can get kind of weighty.
I'm not looking to an argument, but all I was saying that in the Bible that we all supposedly read, that Abraham's seed was prophesied.
We don't need any Bible more than the other one. The Quran is no worse. The Torah is no worse. The Bible is no better. The Bhagavad Gita is no worse. Not one is not better than the other. The human thought, human belief.
Just develop a thesis.
Brother, let me just say, brother, there's no time for the thesis, but I will point your attention to the fact that, again, as I mentioned to you, there is an appearance tomorrow night. You might want to make a point to be there. It's Thursday, the Schomburg, 7 p.m. That's tomorrow night. Thank you for the call. Talk Radio 1190, WLIB, stage left. Go right ahead.
Yes, sir. My brother, I respect you tremendously. You were speaking about prayer, and there's a prayer process in the Christian faith called intercessory prayer, where someone is in the hospital and a group of people get together and they pray for that person's healing of the condition. And often we see some miraculous recoveries. Now, as far as the value of prayer, I took exception to your position on prayer, but I know that works. I've seen that work, and many of us have seen that work. I just wanted your comment on that term of intercessory prayer.
Congratulations, but I was in Harlem Hospital, and that's where I go if I get sick again and I got anything to do with it. That's home. It's right across the street. But I've been in Harlem Hospital, and I had a stroke. A minister came to me to pray. I asked him, leave my bed so the minute the doctor could get there with a needle and a pill. And see, because
but that's not intercessory prayer.
I don't say that you didn't have that experience.
I'll say that's not intercessory prayer.
Wait.
That's direct.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, now.
Intercessory is when you don't see the person.
Okay. Now, you see, I realize that people might have different experience. One might have different experience. I know a lady who was pregnant 9 months and delivered 0. And she was pregnant. She went through labor and everything. Her mind told her she was pregnant. They call it false pregnancy, and they have another medical term for it.
That's right, yeah.
And through the whole process, I know a sister had 8 children. Each time she became pregnant, she went going crazy. And her husband, the day that she gave birth, wherever he is, he turned better. So these things happen. I don't say exclusive for all, but when we are asking Tom, Dick, and Harry to go through what you're talking about and wait and expect some magic will happen, and that person don't have that depth of intercession, you have been unfair to them. To say this could happen to everybody. It can't happen to everybody. Everybody don't carry their mind to that stage.
Okay, but this is my understanding. It's an association of group faith. Say if that person is of that particular faith, and they know that people are praying for them, it has a psychological difference on their healing.
Their brothers in jail, and they know that a lot of people praying for them, but they come right out and rob another person, knock off another person.
We're talking about
and some of them come ministers. Some of them come rabbi, ministers, imam, and whatnot, and got the whole message. And the next thing you know, he's there for recidivism.
Okay, well,
brother, it's a long month.
Okay, it's a long month, but there's this one expression that says we must pray as if it was up to God and act as if it was up to us.
But then you don't know what's up to God. It's a belief system. You don't know no more than anybody else. You never met a God. You believe in it.
In the mirror.
Right,
you believe that. That's not wrong with your belief. But I'm saying the Christian belief, the Jewish belief, the Buddhist belief, the Hindu belief, it's nothing but a belief. One is as good as the other. Like this man here. He's this brother on the radio. He's calling to say all of this. And when it boils down to beans, he's still a black man, like me or you. What I'm trying to get us to realize that no religion is going to change anything for us because it's based on belief. It's not based on factual evidence.
We don't have time to continue, but it's a long month, as I say, for the African religious experience. Let's thank Dr. Ben for joining us today from the world-famous Apollo Theater. Don't forget, again, New Dimensions in African History, a series of lectures, which are also a book as well. Again, it'll be in the spotlight at 135th Street and Lenox Avenue on Thursday, April 9th, 7 p.m. There'll be free admission. You've been listening to the GBE, the Global Black Experience. Opinions heard today do not necessarily reflect in any way those of the management and staff of WLIB, but they do reflect the real feelings and attitudes of a number of people in our community as they face the challenge of being Africans in America moving towards the 21st century. Until tomorrow, remember the key to tomorrow is what we do today, the decision to work or whether to play. Both have their place in the human life stream, but only one can achieve your dream. Remember that life is the ultimate trip. Once you learn to experience it, because in the end, experience is the best teacher. We'll see you tomorrow bright and early at WLIB World Leadership in Broadcasting. Mark Rowley is next at the place.
Most of it included the Supreme Court judge of the state of New York and appellate judge in the state of New York, as well as the one down in Washington, D.C. But he still had some quality. He was still looking. People forget that Malcolm had a leadership in his family that they took away, his father. And his father had already started to inculcate him as a Garveyite. And that I know that man, nobody can take it from me, but I didn't want to sit down and see something different. No, I'm not saying nothing wrong with Spike Lee or not, but that is Spike Lee's Malcolm. It's not my Malcolm.
All right. Let's take this into Pan-African movements, and also let us introduce the audience into your new book, which I think sort of parallels that same subject.
Yes, my new book has a title, which, as you know, my titles generally infer as to what's inside the book. And it's called The Zebraization of Black Studies Departments by Responsible Negroes, Coloreds, and Afros.
The zebraization.
Yes, right.
Doc, zebra.
Listen, and I coin phrases.
Yes, of course.
Quite often. What I mean by that is, take for instance Dr. Garden. It is not accidental or coincidental that the two people most vociferous against Dr. Jeffries are two black men with black wives. White wives. It is not coincidental. And these zebras, that's what they are. Like I have a thing here that's stating it. Theosophical. The theosophical concept of a deity, as these fellows concerned, as per our own ancestors' basic point. And I ask the question, did he or she or they not teach the only truth that there was, is, and will ever be, to avoid our eventual sinking into a state of not knowing who I am, like the ass, ASS, in the shadow of hope below. That's in this page. Thus, we have an alphabetical projection. Z is for zebra, an ass who wishes he could be a tiger in Africa. And they have no tigers in Africa unless they're in the zoo. And that's the big point of what I mean. To me, you know, a zebra is nothing but a jackass, a donkey, with his pajamas on. Just as tasty to the lion. The lion doesn't care if it is an ass or it's a zebra. The night clothes will make a difference. Because a zebra and an ass exactly the same except the pajamas you're wearing.
Now, you have a perspective then about this zebraization of black studies, which is...
Now, the zebraization is what Gordon will bring and what Skip Gates bring. The fact that those men are saying that they're going to teach a black studies without the benefit of an African background. How are you going to teach an African American about his background and leave out Africa? And leave out the Caribbean. That's right there. Because the ships didn't come straight from Africa to the United States or to the Western world. And as a matter of fact, in the beginning, the ships did not come from Africa to the Caribbean or Americas. The ships at the beginning came from Spain. The Africans who lost power in Spain, the Moors, were the ones that the Roman Church under Las Casas and others, started by Cristobal Colon, you call Columbus. They were, 4,000 and were brought to the Caribbeans after they were depleted. Then they went to the West Coast raiding and brought Africans to the Caribbean. They were in the Caribbean from 1485 until 1619 or 1620. The first set of Africans brought here was brought here from Barbados, going on their way to England on a holiday. They already reached the point that they were supposed to be free. And professionals going up to, but they hit a bad storm off Cape Hatteras and the Cuba Pass is there. Thus they had to run into Virginia looking for food and water for the ship. And the Worthless captain, European captain, he traded them off for food for a ship. So they came in as indentured workers, those first 13. And that is something where when we start to curse each other and call each other name and talk about who's coming, not coming, I hope we don't forget that we didn't come in straight from Africa. The first group of us went to Haiti. When Haiti and Santo Domingo is one island, was still called Hispaniola. And we need to know that. So when we start calling each other West Indian and this thing and Georgian and Geechee and all those stupid things, I must remember that we all came the same way.
There's, in terms of the whole issue of Pan-Africanism, which certainly, I think, raises itself, hopefully, in the discussions concerning Malcolm, because it's very much where he was coming from. How do you think this zebraization concept that you're describing, which is occurring, affects the idea of a Pan-African outlook within the educational structure of black studies?
You can't have it because, number one, Pan-Africanism didn't start in Africa. And it was destined, it seems as if the gods, or the god or goddesses, destined it, because it started in the Caribbean with H. Sylvester Williams, who was then the barrister for the English Crown, George Padmore, which had born in Barbados but had lived in Trinidad, and Cyril L.R. James, the man that wrote Black Jacobins. They brought it here to Du Bois. Du Bois at the time had the Pan-Negro movement. They gave the voice, the Pan-African movement. Du Bois then dropped his Pan-Negro movement and started pushing Pan-African, but as soon as he got his hand in it, brought in whites.
Hold on, we'll come right back with that. Dr. Ben is with us today. The conversation revolving around Pan-African movements and also the zebraization of Black Studies departments. You'll get a chance to talk with Doc this hour inside of the GBE right after news headlines in the half hour. We'll come back with more right after these messages. 26. Joining us today, Dr. Yosef Ben-Jochannan, Dr. Ben, for the first time ever speaking in the Bronx at Ujima. This is going to be scheduled for today, Tuesday, November 24th at 6 p.m. at the St. Augustine Presbyterian Church at 838 East 165th Street and Prospect Avenue in the Bronx. And we'll be joined by a representative from Ujima to talk a bit about this very special event. Dr. Ben speaking for the first time ever in the Bronx a bit later on in our hour. Dr. Ben, you were just talking about Du Bois.
Yes, Du Bois at the time also was creating a new figment of his imagination called the Talented Tenth. And most of the Talented Tenth were the children of quote-unquote mixed race, generally the light ones, because they were the ones that basically went to colleges. Most of the dark-skinned kids, the darker black, they were the ones that didn't go to college. They went to the field, University of the Field. And so this Talented Tenth, he felt that the government, it was a fight between him and Booker T. Washington. Whereas Booker T. was talking about training the mind simultaneously with the hands and turning out that kind of a product, Du Bois would talk about the letters, the degreed people, the front for 4 letters and the fraternities and all that thing. Whereas Booker T, so that's why Garvey got in touch with Booker T. Booker T was the one that invited Garvey here. As much as people talk, you know, and Garvey, many of them don't realize that Booker T got Garvey to come here.
I just said that the other day, Dr.
But the red tape, it is true, but the red tape, Garvey won on the mistreatment by the British, Garvey having to go to Honduras and all those places in Central America. Eventually he was sent to England. The British sent him to England to keep a better eye on him. And that thus trying to get here delayed him so that by the time Garvey arrived, Booker had died about 6 months before. So, but Garvey, as soon as he arrived and found out this, he didn't even try to take up residence in New York. He went straight to the grave of Booker and laid a wreath. And coming back to New York is when he came at 135th Street there by used to be a fire station there and a public school. The public school was in front, by the subway, fire station in the back, and then the YMCA. Well, Garvey got out there with a ladder and started speaking. That's where the first Mrs. Garvey, who wasn't then Mrs. yet, Amy Ashford Garvey, came up and heard him and speaking on the ladder. I said, that's Marcus' voice.
I know that voice.
Yeah, I know that voice. Because she used to be with him in the African Communities League. That's what Garvey had in Trinidad, in Jamaica. He didn't have UNIA over there. He had the African Communities League. When he came here, he founded the UNIA.
We'll take a break for news headlines in the half hour. We'll come back and we'll pick a bit more on the issue of Pan-African movements with Dr. Ben. We will also open up our telephone lines, give you the chance to join in the conversation as well, so you can start lining up now. 692-9542 and 1-800-332-1023. Also, some of you maybe heard some difficulties going on in Egypt, and Dr. Ben will address some of that as well in his remarks when he returns. Inside of the Global Black Experience, after news headlines on the half hour. We are live at Talk Radio 1190 WLIB. Let's have Gary Bird and the GBE, the Global Black Experience. My guest, Dr. Yosef Ben-Jochannan, otherwise known, of course, to all of us as Dr. Ben. 23 before 2. We'll begin taking your telephone calls at 692-9542 and the nationwide toll-free number 1-800-332-1023. And also point your attention towards the engagement coming up tonight, 6 p.m. at the St. Augustine Presbyterian Church at 838 East 165th Street and Prospect Avenue in the Bronx. Dr. Ben will be there. It is the first time ever for him speaking in the Bronx as Ujima welcomes him tonight to talk about Pan-African movement. We'll join you on our line at 692-9542 and 1-800-332-1023. We're going to start with Joe Thomas from Brooklyn. Joe, good afternoon. Hello, Joe. Can you hear us?
Oh, yes.
Is this Joe Thomas that I know?
I don't think so.
Okay, just checking, brother. Go right ahead, please. You're in the air with Dr. Ben.
I just wanted to give one. I was kind of insulted by one of the statements of the Dr. Ben, where he had mentioned before the slaves came to America from Africa, here to the continent, North American continent. They came from the Caribbean. Now, if I'm traveling from New York, if I'm going to Kansas City, and on the way to Kansas City, I get pulled over by a policeman and arrested in Ohio and do 6 months. You know, and then once I get to Kansas City, I don't say I came from Ohio. I came from New York. Now, we know that the Caribbean at the time was nothing but a plantation. Nothing from a point of the distribution, you understand?
Well, hold on.
Let's
let him respond to, because as you obviously know, Doc knows that, but I'll let him respond.
What did I do wrong? He said he objected to something. I say, what?
Oh, yeah, because I find, like you talk about the zebra historians, I find this thing about, first of all, what does the word Caribbean mean, sir?
No,
Caribbeans are a set of islands. Caribbean islands are a set of islands in a water mass called the Caribbean Sea.
And what does that mean? Who were they named after? They were named after a tribe, was it not?
No.
It wasn't named after the Carib Indians?
There was not tribe called the Caribs. The total amount of people were called Caribs, but not after the tribes. They weren't tribes. They were people with governments.
Yes, but they were not African.
Who said they were?
Okay. Well, this is not an African term. There comes a point in the
Caribbeans is not African.
Yes.
The Caribbeans' name is the people who were in the islands called themselves Caribs.
Caribs, yes.
And therefore, the islands that they inhabit they call Caribbeans, equivalent to that.
They were removed. Genocide was enacted upon them.
Hold on a second, brother. Hold on.
What that got to do with me?
Brother, let me just say something to you just quickly, and we can kind of get to the bottom of this. I don't know how long you've listened to this show or to the station, but you must realize that we've covered this information you're describing over literally hundreds of programs. Now that's one. So I want you to understand, you're not saying something we haven't heard before and haven't discussed. But I think you were misunderstanding something that Dr. Ben said earlier, which was the initial part of your comment. You seem to have the impression that he was indicating that we had come from the Caribbean as opposed to describing our African origin.
No, it's not the even to make a distinction at those times those were nothing but plantations. Even to this.
Okay, but let me say something though. I'm not sure what the misunderstanding was, but he knows that, and that's what he meant.
We should explain it that way, brother. And also, it's
hold on. I'm not speaking for Dr. Ben. I just want to establish what you understood and what you obviously didn't understand. Doc, you maybe want to go over those remarks again for a minute.
I said that we must be careful to understand that the African people did not come direct from Africa to the Virginians.
Yes.
They came two ways. First, they came from Spain after they had lost power to the island of Hispaniola, now called Haiti and Santo Domingo. When those were exhausted, the 4,000 and add, then the Europeans, primarily under the Pope of Rome and a man called Las Casas, started by Cristobal Colon, now called Christopher Columbus. They then started to raid the west coast of Africa and bring the Africans in 1485 down to the Caribbeans. After 1485, 1619 or 1620, the first group came to Jamestown, Virginia from Barbados. That's his story. What is wrong with that?
The problem, your historical context is somewhat shaky, brother.
What's wrong there?
Because at that time these were nothing but plantations. You must be specific on that, because otherwise you ingest that these were independent.
If it was chicken coop,
it's very important that you say that.
They still brought them from those places I stated to there. I didn't say they were good, bad, or indifferent. I just said the historical fact.
Well, some people take it, some people with...
People like you with little brain will take it that way.
It's interesting. Again, as I say to the brother, I'm not sure if he must be a new listener, because the areas that you're describing...
No, he just wants something to argue.
Apparently.
Because there was nothing to argue about. All I said is a historic fact.
I don't hear the argument, brother.
Evaluation, whether it was good or bad.
Yeah, I don't think there's an argument there. Talk Radio WLIB, thank you for your call. You're inside of the GBE. Bill Jones from TNAC.
Yes.
How you doing?
Okay.
Good. You're in the air with Dr. Ben. Go right ahead.
Oh, hi, Dr. Ben.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask you, I remember I had sat in on a lecture of yours over at City College a couple of years ago, and I've been having this burning question about the Great Pyramid. I was looking at it, and they say that it's situated in the center of Egypt. That's the way it's written, but if you look at it, it's really up by the point of the Delta.
It's not in the center of Egypt. People make all kind of statement, emotional statement, without checking it, and you're correct. It's in Lower Egypt.
Right. Right.
It's not in the center of Egypt. What happened, anthropologically speaking and Egyptologically speaking, they divide Egypt in saying Upper Egypt, and they start Upper Egypt from Cairo, where, down to Abu Simbel.
Right.
Lower Egypt, they start from Giza to Alexandria.
Okay.
But those are anthropological and term, but geographically it is not there.
Okay. Now, to expand on that just a little further, they also say that the Great Pyramid is in the center of our globe or of our world.
That again is let's call it a spiritual thing, because it's no such thing. Nobody knows where's the center of the world.
Oh, okay.
The world is an elliptical thing. It's not even wrong.
Okay.
It's elliptical, and nobody knows the center.
Okay.
Thank you for your call, brother.
All right, thank
Talk
you.
Radio WLIB. Let's go to Carol from Brooklyn on line 1. Carol, good afternoon. Thanks for being there with Dr. Ben.
Good afternoon. It's to both of you strong black men. It's Carol Taylor, The Little Black Book, Black
you.
Male
Oh, how you
Survival.
doing?
How are you guys?
Very well. How you
Fairly well.
doing?
I love you both.
Thank you.
Very quickly, 451-2323. But I wanted to ask Dr. Ben to explain. You've heard of Malice Green, the young man, black brother, was bludgeoned to death in Detroit, and those 21 shots of the attempted execution of Officer Pannell. And they were talking about friendly fire. If it's friendly, we're all in deep doo-doo. The connection between the zebraization of the so-called multicultural curricula and the wholesale slaughter of black males in America. The connection, Dr. Ben.
Well-
and I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Carol.
Well, you see, like I said, you cannot separate anything we do from music, engineering, law, medicine. As long as we are doing it within this society, we can escape it. So that I'm saying that when somebody's coming in or belong inside and feel that we can't do it unless some European comes in to tell us how to do it, or that we must have a European hand in it, that's zebraization. Or if in the case of like Skip Gates and Gordon, that the only people our group could select, or the people who want to select to rule us, are those who have European wife or European husband. They don't want to be hiring people who are both Africans. That combination doesn't work, because they can't get us to do the Aunt Jemima, the Aunt Thomasina, and the Uncle Sam, and other such things. So that zebraization is something that they're holding forward. Now they're asking that you be a zebra.
Talk Radio WLIB. Doc, the question of tying in the acts that we see happening in terms of the young brothers. She mentioned a couple of situations. One in which the transit officer, officer's an undercover policeman, is shot because they just think he's a robber by him being
But
black.
there's nothing new about that. In the 60s, on 125th Street, 7th Avenue, down, it used to be almost every weekend they were shooting plainclothes men. Black plainclothes men were killed, not only shot and injured, but they were killed. That's just before Seeley and others were made captain of Eddie Waite. The first one was Seeley, Eddie Waite, I forget Artie's last name. He'd kill me if I Artie and another brothers became captains. They had them captains flight walk with no prison. During that time, they start to shoot a lot of black policemen, undercover men, and plainclothesmen, especially when they were trying to arrest a European. So, yes, I'm right. All of them. There were a number of black policemen getting shot in plainclothes and detectives by white policemen. It's no accident. It's not new.
What about the youth? What is your comment on that? The
young men that got.
yeah.
I heard about that briefly on the TV, just in the flash news.
Right.
I didn't get no details about it, so I can't comment. But I heard it's something about Arab gas station or something like that.
Well, the police actually apparently confronted him, and at one point he clenched his fists.
I don't know.
He refused to unclench his fists.
I didn't know about
and he
this
was
one.
shot.
But it's just one of many incidents, which I think she was just trying to relate. How do we see these things relate? Are they part of the same topic?
It's no different than the young man that got shot with his hands up there in Jersey, or the brother down the street in Brooklyn. Or this is nothing unique. We have been going through that from day one. From day one, and it doesn't matter if it's a young man who is considered a hoodlum he has a jail record or he doesn't have a jail record. The fact that he's black, and they're looking for a black person, he's it.
Do you see a place, Doc, where our response mechanism has advanced or retrogressed in terms of Pan-African movements responding to this type of thing?
Yeah, I'm going to say something. As long as all we do is pray, whenever something happens to us, we go to pray. The first time somebody kill us and we kill somebody back for that, or a group go and kill somebody for it, catch the guy and knock him off, we're going to start getting respect. I remember just the end of World War II, there were a group of indigenous people in Columbia, South Carolina, I think it was, and the Klan came out and started to terrorize them. Those people went, and those indigenous people went and armed themselves, and the next time the Klan came, they almost shoot off the head. The Klan has never come back from the Second World War to this day. The time will come. If I know every time I beat you, you can't do anything. What happens if a man beat his wife all the time, and one day he comes into the kitchen to beat up and find a long kitchen knife looking at him? He don't whip her anymore, does he? If she don't put it in him, at least when he see it, he gonna whip her. He gonna be so happy to whip. I say it, and I don't care who don't like it. Black people gonna have to stand up and fight back physically. And then, but if you every time something happens, there's a group of ministers to go pray. Let's go pray. No, let's go fight. Jesus took up a stick and fight, beat some heads in the synagogue.
We're at Talk Radio 1190 WLIB with Dr. Ben. We'll take a break and we'll come right back.
Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to ask another man a question. As far as we having a lot of problems, everybody's talking about the black and Jewish relationships going on in the city. And I would like for him to define what is a Jew and the origins of Judaism.
My brother, I don't want to spend too much time. If I give you my own background, I was born of a quote-unquote, I don't use the term, but that's what in the West. I was born of a father of Ethiopia, and a Hebrew mother in Puerto Rico. So I know about what it's been. And I'm not going through the argument as to what color is a Jew, who is a Jew. There's no color requirement to be a Jew, and there is no racial requirement to be a Jew. A man could be a Japanese, and there are some, or Chinese, Indian, whatever it is, black, white, brown, green, and be a Jew, a Christian, a Muslim, or a Buddhist.
Right.
It's not a racial thing or a color thing.
Right. It's a religion.
It's a religion and
anyone.
It's a religion and culture, and it could be anybody could be a Jew.
But there's certainly been a distortion, Doctor.
Yes,
Ben, right?
Well, right here, everybody say look, a Jew and a black, and yet they just take away 9,000 black Jews from Ethiopia in Israel, and before them, the Yemenite Jews are considered black Jews. So this nonsense about with Denkins, that's why I can't understand a black and a Jew. I was invited to a conference once to the black school in Tennessee, in the black school in Tennessee, very known. Anyhow. Yes, they got a medical school right next to it. But anyhow, I was invited to a conference by Tannenbaum, who just died. And it was a conference of blacks and Jews. And when I got there, I asked them, now where should I sit? What half of my behind should be and what chair or the other? I'm black and I was Jewish.
So when we identify with the people who they say...
yeah, sorry?
When you identify with the people who they say the problem is, then you should be identified as a European Jew, because that's what they are.
I am not a European. That's the difference. The only distinction is some Jews are Europeans, some are Asians, and some are Africans. And they are Jews of all of those descriptions that I called.
We're in the last few seconds, Doc. A quick note. Obviously, the book that I'm looking at, you can't see it in your radio situation out there, those of you listening. But this book looks like you're pretty close to completing it.
Yes, I'm doing the final editing from the author's edit.
Yes.
Then it's going to go back to my typist to do the final typing, and then from the it'll be edited again and go to my printer to print this book up.
The Zebraization of Black Studies.
The name of this book is The Zebraization of Black Studies Departments by Responsible Negroes, Coloreds, and Afros.
And what's the schedule for this to be released?
I had wanted to publish it by Christmas Day region, but it can't. It'll be the first part of next year.
Make sure
it should be out before February.
You are going back to Egypt, I do believe.
On the 15th.
On the 15th of
December.
Great, okay.
A group will meet me, and they're coming from the States on the 26th, arrive in Egypt 27th, and we're going to Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt.
Dr. Ben joining us today inside of the GBE. You can join him tonight at Ujima. That is tonight at 6 p.m. The St. Augustine Presbyterian Church, 838 East 165th Street and Prospect Avenue in the Bronx. There is a telephone number, 212-716-7103. That's 212-716-7103. Doc, thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Brother Holmes.
Thank you.
All right, don't forget, you can stand by. Mark Rowley is coming.
Bible was written by black folks? True.